closers get paid.
Welcome back. This week, this topic is probably my most favorite topic, state mastery. Let's think about it. If you're not in the right state, can you produce the result you want? If you're in a resourceful state, you're positive, you have absolute certainty, what could you accomplish? But on the other hand, if you're doubtful, you're fearful, you're negative, what are you even trying for, right? So I'm going to tell you a story about state management, but I'm also going to show you how this works. But let's go back to last week. We talked about your self-image. Hopefully you've done your homework because it's going to be very helpful understanding how to take what you discovered last week and how to really get yourself in the right frame of mind, feeling the state of certainty and confidence at any time, no matter what's going on. Maybe not just pushing towards your goal, but maybe some other crisis unfolds and you need to be the guy that steps up or gal that steps up and be very resourceful so that you can get through that challenge as quickly as possible. So this is really about peak performance. And it's about the state that you're in. You can only perform at that level of certainty that you have within yourself. So how do you get yourself in a resourceful state when you're not feeling good, or you don't really feel like it, or you have negative thoughts or negative feelings? So this is about busting through those so that you can achieve any outcome that you're after. You'll get a result for sure, but are you getting your ultimate outcome? So now we're looking at the diamond, and in the center is an S. What that stands for is state, right? You know how Superman, he's in this peak emotional state, he could conquer the world. Well, not always. Sometimes that state is lousy, when he's chained down with kryptonite. And maybe that's what your negative thoughts are doing for you at times, is chaining you down from being the person or reaching the outcome that you're after. And so this process is going to help you break free of that and be able to be confident in the right place when you need to be most. The first part of it is your mind. And that really is, what are we focusing on? We get what we focus on. Energy flows where focus is at. Wherever your focus is, energy is going to flow there. So you want to be very clear at that moment what thought is dominating your mind. And if it's not resourceful, I want you to ask this question. It's very simple. What does the opposite of this look like? Imagine that. What is the opposite? And really think. What does the opposite of that look like? And as soon as it pops into your mind, it'll flash, because we think in pictures. Think about your home, and a picture of your home flashes across your mind. Think about your car. A picture of your car, an image of your car flashes across your mind. When that flash happens, capture it, write it down. What's the opposite of this look like? And as soon as that happens, you should notice a shift. You should start to feel a little bit better when you start focusing on what you want. Second thing is the words that you're using. Words give life meaning. And if you're using lousy words, non-supportive words, maybe you got that little voice in your head that's, instead of saying what you need to be saying to yourself, you got a little doubt in there. Maybe it's how you're saying it. For example, let's say my outcome is to be the number one rep today. And I say, okay, I hope I'm the number one rep today. Is that a resourceful statement, an empowering statement, a statement of confidence, a statement as if? Or would it be a better choice of words to say something like, I am the number one rep today. I will be. I'll beat everybody. I'm beating everyone. It's done. When I say those words, it changes how I feel. And those words support the image. So you want to make sure that they're congruent and they're working together. So I hope that's making a lot of sense to you. So be very careful what words are in your mind. You want to be your number one advocate. And that little voice sometimes could be, that tongue, you can get hung by the tongue, so to speak, and not even realize that it's working against you. The third part is the way you move your body. So if you move your body like this, and let's say you're walking around and your head's down and you're telling yourself, okay, I'm going to be number one, but you're moving is in the opposite. Your head's down, your chest is down, you're not confident, probably not going to be successful. So what's the opposite of that look like? What does that person look like? If somebody's going to be confident, what would you say? Would their head be up? Have you ever heard when you're down and out, keep your chin up? Well, there's something to that. If you shift your head back a little bit, you'll start to notice you feel better instantly. And if you bring your shoulders back, put your hands on your side, you'll start to feel a state of confidence and certainty. And if you move your body fast and you say what your new words are repetitively as fast as possible, bam, I'm number one. I'm unstoppable. You say those things like you actually mean it. while visualizing, you'll shift your state in a heartbeat. You'll change the way you feel instantly. So once again, don't let your story write itself. The center is state in the diamond, but it's also the story you're telling yourself. Make sure the story is a story that you want, an empowering story, a story about success and happiness and achievement. And by changing the way you focus your mind, the way you choose the words that are empowering, and the way you move your body as if, acting as if it's already a reality, it'll shift. You know, Napoleon Hill said that every adversity carries with it a seed of equivalent or greater benefit, but it's up to the mind of man to find it. And by asking yourself, what's the opposite of this look like, you will find exactly what you're looking for. Knock, and it'll be open. Seek, and you shall find. Those are such powerful words, and they're so true. But we do need to apply them. And as we go back to last week, and we're talking about our self-image, and let's say that self-image isn't strong, ask yourself that question. What's the opposite of what I'm focusing on look like? What could it look like? And what words support that? And how would I be acting and moving and my physiology, my body language? What would that be like, somebody that was successful already? And just step into that role. Act as if you're that person. And you'll start to exude that way. You'll start to act the way, and you'll start to create the results for however your actions are. So first you think it, you see it the way you want it, you create words that support it, and then you start acting as if. You'll shift the way you feel. Those feelings will create a move towards or away from. As you move towards, you'll start producing the results that you want. And it's very powerful and yet very simple. And it works all the time, no matter what the situation may be. Even if you're going in for an interview or you're giving an interview and you notice you don't feel right, shift your focus, shift the language, shift your state, and focus on what you want. Remember, Napoleon Hill said, get your mind on what you want and off of what you don't want. And this is how you do that. All that information is powerful. But if you don't know how to do it, what good is it, right? So this is how you do it. This is how I've been able to go from flat broke to becoming a self-made millionaire, is by using this simple process. And so can you. So let me tell you a time where I helped somebody out with this. A friend of mine, Robert, opened up a chiropractor office. And I went over to support him. And I already had a chiropractor. I didn't tell him that. But I went in to support him and got an adjustment. And as I'm sitting there, he's giving me a sales pitch. And I'm listening to it, and really wasn't that great. But it wasn't great because it was how he presented it. It was his state. It really felt negative. You know, why would I want to buy something from somebody that feels negative about what they're doing, right? I want to buy from somebody that believes in what they're doing, that feels good about it. And that was completely opposite. And I said, Robert, that's fine. You don't have to give me the whole pitch. And so I said, what's going on, man? And about that time, somebody walked through the door. And he says, you know, I got this ad out, and I'm offering a free adjustment, and everybody's just coming in and taking advantage of me. And he hadn't signed one person up. He ran the ad, obviously, to get exposure and get a new client in the door and do his presentation and hope to get a new account. And he hadn't gotten any accounts, and he was getting wore out, and he was starting to associate a negative association to potential customers coming through his door. Now, what was happening? What fires together, wires together. And all he had to do was think about somebody coming in, and his state would change. Hopefully you're getting the idea here. Well, you know, I started thinking about it. I said, okay, you know what? Let me help you out. And I walked him through this process. We went to his back office after he did that adjustment. And I said, here's what I'm going to ask you to do. I'm going to ask you to answer this question. What's your ultimate outcome? Why did you do this in the first place? He said, well, to get new customers. I said, what does that look like? Well, people coming in and seeing what I do and signing up. I said, well, how does that feel? He says, well, it feels good. I said, okay, so what words support that? And he says, well, people coming in and signing up. So I said, write that down. He wrote both of them down. And I said, here's what I'm going to have you do. Get on that treadmill. He had a treadmill in his office. And I want you to chant that as you're moving your body, jogging along, right? People come in, they sign up. I got the greatest service. They sign up. Everyone comes to that door, I sign up. And I said, I want you to keep saying it until you actually believe it. He said, oh, okay. He was a little reluctant at first. And I said, get on the treadmill now. I want to walk out the door. I should have really charged him for this. About maybe an hour later, he calls me. He says, hey, man, he was all excited. I just signed up my first one. I'm like, exactly. That's exactly because you did what? Because I changed my focus. And from that point forward, his company took off. His business took off. He ended up moving, buying the equipment he wanted. And it was all because he shifted his focus, his internal language, and he used his body to energize it and get excited and condition it. So I want to tell you a story about state management with a sales team. This was the best day we ever had in one day's business. Typically, we do about 10 new accounts a day. And we'd gone out to Stockton, California, and we got our butts kicked 2 days in a row. And the whole team's energy was down. I had this beautiful bus, probably the only person I've ever met with a bus on the street, going out door-to-door sales. Ended up with 4 of them. And this was the first one. And we were like the Globetrotters heading to the neighborhoods. And these guys were great. They ended up getting, their state really down after these 2 days in a row getting stomped. And I wasn't quite sure what was going on. So on that third day, I had to make a decision. Do we let that story write itself? Do I let these guys believe one of the greatest areas to sell security systems is no good? We can't produce there. And I knew that I had to shift their focus. I had to make that the greatest area ever to go. So what happened that day was we got on the bus, and typically we'd say, okay, where are we going to go? And I'd let the energy kind of dictate what territory we were headed to, what town we were going to head to. And they all wanted to go someplace else, I'm sure you can imagine. Well, I wasn't about to let that happen. I started asking better questions. I knew if I asked a better question, I could shift their focus. And that's what I started doing, right? I started asking better questions. And one of the questions was, what do we want to do in Stockton? What would you guys like to do to Stockton? Like, as if that was something Stockton did to us, what can we do to get back at it? And one of the guys on the bus said, make Stockton pay. And I had this bullhorn where I would chant on the bus when we're heading to the field. Or I would put up contests, and I would tell everybody what's going on, right? And so they could all hear me. And I'd get them in a peak state before they hit the street. Well, I decided we were going to head to Stockton. I told the driver, head to Stockton. And everybody's kind of looking at me. And I went on this little rant. What do you guys want to do? And then the one guy said, make Stockton pay. I said, make Stockton what? Pay. A few people started getting into it. Make Stockton what? Pay. What are we going to do? And then all of a sudden, the whole team started getting involved and connected to this vision. We're going to make Stockton pay. This will be the greatest sales day on earth. This will be our best day ever. What are we going to do? Make Stockton pay. What are we going to do? Make Stockton pay. So now they had a vision, and they had the language to support it, and their physiology, their body language changed to absolute certainty, absolute determination. And if you could have been, I just imagine being in a car going down Highway 99 from Modesto to Stockton while we did this chant, while we did this whole incantation, if you will, all the way there. Just the energy and the enthusiasm, the excitement to see that going down the freeway, that would have been priceless. So here's what happened. We pull into Stockton, and I got them peaking. At a 1 to 10, they're at a 20. And I knew to let them go on the high. Don't stop, don't get gas, don't stop for a break and lunch and let them get out and smoke. None of that. Just get them in front of customers. So that's what I did. I just pulled up, I threw up a contest, first person, most, last deal, first person with the deal, most deals, last deal gets whatever I was putting up. And so what happened was we hit the street, and within minutes, I got a radio. I was using these little Motorola radios at the time, and I get a radio call. Bam, in the house getting the first deal. And I yelled back at everybody, it's on. We're making Stockton pay, right? So throughout the day, every time somebody got in a home, started writing up paper, I would broadcast it to everybody. And I'd use that same mantra, that same statement. Make Stockton pay. We're making Stockton pay. Well, by the end of the day, we had done the best we'd ever done before. We did over 42 new accounts in that one day. And all we did was shift our focus. We shifted our language. We shifted our way of moving our body. We had a vision. We had a reason. And we all got behind it and supported it. And we did the whole diamond, the whole process together as a team. But the thing is, it took one person to start it. One person had to lead. One person, that was me at the time, had to decide what to focus on. So I had to get myself there first. In order to lead anybody anywhere, you got to be the first person. You got to be your first close. You got to be the person that takes it on first, sees it the way you want it, talks it up, and then goes to work at shifting your body and acting as if, and leading by example to lead the rest of the crew. So think about how you can apply that same kind of story with the team that you may be working with. Maybe in your office, maybe you're a coach for some baseball team or something. Where can you apply this simple process to change the result and make some really magical and powerful memories that last a lifetime? Think about that. This other story was a very simple one. I was given a sales training on video conference one day, and there was like 9 offices tuned in. And I was talking about this whole state management, mastering your state. And I was going through the process, and one of the guys that was on the conference, his son was in a swimming meet in a competition that coming weekend. And so when we get back on the conference call the following week, he says, "Hey guys, I got to tell everybody this story." And he tells us about his son not really wanting to be in the race and not doing, he could tell that his whole, body language is down and he didn't feel confident. And he says, "Well, what's going on?" And, he just didn't want to be there. So he just said, "Hey, I applied this and it worked. I shifted his state and it was unbelievable. I asked him the right question. What's your ultimate outcome? What do you really want?" He says, "I want to beat him, Dad." He said, "What's that look like?" "Well, me getting there first." "How does that feel?" "Feels great." And so he had him just say it a few times just prior to the race starting, and took off, and he beat everyone. And so as simple as it may seem, and for these little moments in our life, just think about how powerful it is to shift our focus, ask ourselves better questions, support that language, and act as if, in advance, show up in advance with the outcome in mind. And that's a real interesting topic, the outcome in mind. I really believe we all need to be outcome-oriented. When we go to a meeting, when we go see a customer, when we show up at a family event, ask yourself the right questions. What's my ultimate outcome here? Be purpose-driven. Be straight-line focused, and you'll get a much more powerful response when you're focusing on an outcome instead of just showing up somewhere. And then you can really perform, you can peak perform when you're in the zone, and at the end of your day, you're getting results. You're not just showing up, going through the day. You've got progression. You're getting outcomes. How can you use that in your life? What area of your life could you apply this in? Think about it. What area can you improve to get a better outcome and get the momentum moving forward to just create a better life for yourself? So I'm going to ask that you do this week. You apply this on your life in one area. Pick an area. Ask yourself, okay, what area would I like to improve? And test this out for yourself. Don't take my word on it. Test it out for yourself. You decide if it works or not. So pick an area, and then you apply it on your life. What's the opposite of this look like? What words support it? You're going to capture both of them, and you're going to move your body as if you already made it's already in a reality in your life. And I suggest maybe go for a jog. I put rock music on, and I'll just start chanting and saying my outcome until I just feel really great about it. And then test it. Notice how you feel. Give it 10, 15 minutes and think about that area and notice how you feel. Once again, scale to 1 to 10, 1 being, absolutely negative, 10 being completely certain. Notice how you feel. And if you don't feel completely there yet, do more of it. Repeat it over and over and over again until it sticks. And you will see a whole different experience happening. You'll actually feel good about the things you may be resisting right now. So once again, that's going to be your assignment this week. And I really look forward to hearing how effective the changes that's happening, how effective it is for you, and all this great stuff that's happening. I know I will, as long as you're applying it.
Closers get paid. 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 you're new to the game and you're trying to make it. You can't believe all the money that these closers are making. Just listen closely and I'll tell you the secret. Step number one is you've got to see it. Step number two is you got to believe it. Step number three is you've got to be
Closers
it.
get paid, closers get paid, closers get paid, closers get paid.